Hi, everybody. Welcome to the April 2021 Doylestown Township Environmental Advisory Council meeting. It's via Zoom again, and I welcome everybody who's here. We may have a few other attendees. We'll wait and see. So let's begin, because as always, we have a full agenda. Let's take a look at the minutes from the March meeting. Jim, thank you. They're really extensive. I have a couple small edits, but let's see what everybody else says.
Yeah, I just had a couple. Kara, I think it's Kara Raymond. Is my correct?
Did I put Kara Swisher? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know another Kara. I'm sorry about that.
Yes, so Kara Raymond. And then also for Bucks County Audubon, I wasn't an Arbor Day, it was Earth Day actually. And we did participate by pulling materials together. Aaron and I met and we pulled materials together and they were at the event. So just small things.
Great.
We're not going to pay you, Jim, if you keep making mistakes.
Okay.
Oh, Jim, they're very small, tiny things. Thank you so much for
sorry.
doing the minutes. It was awesome.
Yeah, those are two things that I noticed. And one final on the second page, there is no meeting scheduled with Dave Tomko.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that has not happened.
Okay.
But we do, I'll
I'm
have
sorry.
Thursday about that.
It was Kara's name. It was the meeting with Dave. And what was the other mistake?
Bucks Audubon, it was Earth Day and not Arbor Day, and we did participate. We provided materials that were displayed.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll fix that right after the meeting. Okay.
Okay, any other revisions, changes?
Look good.
Let's have a motion to approve the minutes from the March meeting then.
I'll motion to approve.
I second.
All right, and all in favor.
Aye.
Bye.
Good, thank you. Great. Okay, so moving right along, a budget review. So the signs have been paid for then, Aaron?
They will be shortly. We just received delivery of them.
Oh, they're delivered.
Yay.
Great. So that comes out of our budget. And the tarps, I don't know if we've paid for those 3 tarps yet.
Yes, the tarps have come out of the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't
I believe
show.
that should be the only thing that's hit so far, which is roughly a little less than 150.
Right. They're
And then
great
the signs
tarps.
will be, I think, around 780 total.
780. Okay. Anybody
So
have?
were those the tree signs that were delivered? The 2 tree
Correct.
signs? Okay.
So the 766 is the balance, is the initial payment, and then there's a balance of 780.
No, that is
No.
the complete payment.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Okay.
It's
Oh,
not
that's
due
great.
until after delivery, though.
Okay.
Okay, great. And we're saving money big time because
Yeah.
the township is creating the framework and the posts.
Awesome.
Correct.
Awesome.
So Aaron, when do you think, oh, well, that's on the agenda. We can just move along. I was just going to ask a question, but I'm going to hold back on that. Okay, any further comment on the budget?
Looks good.
Okay, great. Let's moving along. New business. Jim, you have an EAC letter to the board about the planned new community / recreation center.
Yeah.
Central Park. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So
Okay.
I just circulated the letter to everybody that was on the distribution. I hadn't done it previously and I apologize for that, but you should have the letter now in your inbox. So
Yep.
briefly, the situation is this. The township is proposing to build a large recreation center in Central Park. Apparently this was approved, I don't know, 18 months ago. And frankly, we were not really aware of it. There was a public meeting held in February and many of us attended. But actually the total participation was very small. It was only about 30 or 35 people out of a township of 17,000 people. And most of the opinions, frankly, were rather negative, I think. And the EAC, I think, as a group, and I don't want to speak for anyone in particular, but I think as a group, we were really questioning whether or not it was such a smart idea to put a large building and develop that open space in the park. There had been a number of people who had called for reusing existing space in the township for a rec center rather than building something from scratch. So we agreed last month that I would draft a letter, and I did that. I also I spoke to Ken Snyder, who's a former supervisor. And I also, a couple of us looked at the joint Parks and Rec open space plan, which is meant to detail the reasons why we need a rec center. In other words, what are the gaps that would lead us to build a new rec center? And I think long story short, I mean, I think you can read this report in a number of different ways. I mean, you can justify almost anything you want from this report, but I would say this, in general, the number of park and rec activities has been flat or declining since 2013. It's not like they're doing a lot more programs and with more participation than they were, let's say, 5 or 8 years ago. The other thing I would say is that of all the recreation facility, recreation activities, many of them are already outdoors. They're not indoor activities.
Correct.
Among the indoor activities, a few of them get a lot of participation, but many of them get very, very few participants. It's like single-digit registrations, mostly kids programs where you've got 3, 5, 7 people signed up for these things. And I think it begs the question about whether or not we're really, this building is really scoped for activities that we don't even need to provide. That's just one way of viewing it. So, I mean, it's hard to know, what the right answer is here. Maybe if they build a building, maybe there will be more recreation activities. Maybe it'll sit idle. I don't, it's hard to know what I think is going to come of this building. So I wrote a letter indicating some of our concerns or some of my concerns and saying we're asking the Board of Supervisors to reconsider looking at existing facilities rather than building a new building. And to be sure that there's been adequate public engagement, that people are aware of this, and that there's buy-in to do this. Because otherwise you're going to spring an expensive project on taxpayers who had no idea this was coming. So that's where we are, I think. Now, I would ask people, read the letter, give me comment, and let's decide if we actually want to send this. It's not in any way, I've tried to be very, word it very gently. Whatever the Board of Supervisors decide to do, we would want to support them in that activity to be sure that it is successful. But please reconsider whether or not it's really a good idea to build such a large building. So let me stop there and see what people think.
Jim, I think I emailed you, maybe I emailed everyone, I don't remember, but I did read through that, the open space plan that was adopted in February of this year. It's very long, it's 250 pages plus.
Yep.
But I spent a lot of time on Sunday looking that over because I was interested. And one of the things that I discovered was written into the plan, there's a really important comment, and it says that it actually comes from a 1987 President's Commission, and it's quoted in the plan. And it says that parks and recreation professionals are typically very interested in public service and activities. Mm-hmm. And that there may not always be a carefully thought through environmental ethic underlying some decision making. And I thought that was that, and it said sometimes what results is an anti-land stewardship dilemma, mm-hmm. because I kind of think that's part of what we have here. It's not that anybody means anything negative. It's not that people are not people of goodwill.
Right.
But the size of this building, the placement of the building, and the lack of sustainable building practices mentioned really or emphasized, I think are of concern to EAC members. They are of concern to me. I don't know what others have to say, but I thought that little quote in the plan itself was right on. Yeah. The environmental part is ignored, but that's not unusual. It's not a surprise.
No, I mean, there's always a tension between development and services and open space. It's a natural tension.
Mhm.
Yep. Well, and I think this also circles back a little bit to, when we've talked about park partners, it had dawned on me that when we say park and when parks say park, Parks and Rec say parks, we have two different visions. We're using the same word, but really it might as well be two completely different words. We're thinking natural areas, birds, a chance to reconnect with nature, walking paths, bike paths. They're thinking soccer fields, volleyball courts. They're thinking organized sports.
Right.
And that's how they see parks. So I think a lot of this, the open space plan that was developed, and I worked on that. So it was obvious to me that this was going to be a Parks and Rec definition of open space and how it's used.
Right.
Because that's who did the report. If we had done the report, we would have had a different thing.
Jim, I just want to speak directly to your letter. When you sent it out, I read it through. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really well written and spoke to the concerns that we have here in the EAC. And I support what you wrote. Thank you.
Oh, I agree with that too. It's
Yeah.
very
So
good.
do I.
Yeah, I agree,
Well-
especially in that there really is no needs-based assessment. Like, I'd really like to see what needs are we trying to meet? And it isn't clear in terms of what
Ex-
services, what functions, all of that. And I think you outlined that
Exactly.
nicely.
That's
Exactly, yeah.
actually not true. The Parks and Rec Committee have done a lot of research on needs and all the recommendations. Now, you're welcome to disagree with it, but they have done extensive research on the needs for these buildings and have presented it to the Board of Supervisors.
Well, but it was supposed to be captured in that joint Parks and Rec open space plan. And I think, to me, it's a bit of a Rorschach test. I think you can take from that what you want to see in it, to be honest, in terms of, I guess the question fundamentally is how much services does the township want to provide for the community? I mean, are we in the business of being a rec center,
Right.
a sports league? I guess that's really the question. So.
Let's decide how to proceed with Jim's letter.
Well, let me say, to be fair to other people, that I didn't send the letter out before the meeting, so I don't want anybody to feel pressured to make a decision before they've read it. So my recommendation, Jeanine, was that we give people a chance to read it,
Sure.
and then maybe we either connect by email between now and the next meeting, or we make a decision at the next meeting.
Let's make a decision in May. That'll give everybody a chance to read, to think. Maybe,
Yes.
Dan, is there another way we could see more information about a needs assessment, as Tanya
Right.
was asking for?
I would suggest the Parks and Rec Committee or Stephanie Mason could probably has that information. One thing to inform this group, as of last week, that the scope of the project is likely going to change significantly. Supervisor Lyons informed us at the budget workshop last week that we have been planning $4 million for this project, and that it is likely, as it stands now, would end up being 7.5 million, which is a very significant increase. And a lot of the supervisors' eyebrows all raised up at that number, and we will be now. It's early yet. These are just like kind of side conversations we've had, but there's discussions about what exactly that's going to look like, because at that price point, I don't see it happening. But that's why we're still in the early discussions of that. And I believe Barbara Lyons is planning on having the architects and design firm come to the next Board of Supervisors meeting to kind of lay out like where we're at and what options are there going forward. But
Dan?
that's all still very much in flux.
I have a little bit of a question on that. Since they're at the last public meeting, they were not able to say what activities would be held in the building, what size the building would be. How do you know what the budget is for it?
I do not know personally. I am not on that budget committee, and I am on the budget committee. I'm not on that building committee
Okay.
where that was decided and this was announced kind of last minute with no warning to the rest of the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, okay.
So unfortunately, I don't know much, but I do know part of that increase is supposed to come from unexpected costs for land development, and from fitting out the building, which I have thoughts on that I'm not going to share on a recorded session.
Okay. Well, I mean, even during that public meeting, it was very difficult to answer some of the questions since they were unable to say what services they would even offer in the building. Well, it might be a fitness center, or it might be a basketball court, or it might be a speak classrooms, or we just don't know. So I'm wondering how do you get to a number if you don't know what you're building?
And I think that's
It's
a
a mystery to
valid,
me.
and I think that's a valid question. Just so you know, those scheduled for the group that you met with earlier in February. They are planning an additional public meeting towards the end of this month before they present to the Board of Supervisors. So there will be another part for public input and public question.
Can I just
Has
ask
that
a-
been advertised? Because I have not seen anything
Yeah.
about that, Aaron.
The
Where do
schedule was
people find
released
out
at the
about it?
last public meeting they held on the 25th of February.
What's the date, Aaron?
There hasn't been a date set yet.
Oh,
It is scheduled for later this month.
I see.
Okay, well, I mean,
It will be released on social media and on the webpage, additionally to whatever they advertise themselves when it is scheduled.
okay. I mean, it's 2 months to the end of, 2 weeks to the end of the month, so not a lot of lead time here.
Yeah,
So I have another question about meeting dates. When is the Board of Supervisors meeting at which this will be discussed? What is the date?
the next meeting of the Board of Supervisors is the first Tuesday in May. I'm not sure this will be to the point because that is quickly approaching, that it will be something they're ready to discuss at that point and maybe put off until to the next meeting in terms of public comment from the architect.
Can we have the May meeting dates now then?
May 4th.
May 4, and then when would be the next meeting?
The next meeting is the third Wednesday in June. I don't know that date off.
17th.
It'll be June 17?
Oh, Wednesday, I'm
Oh.
sorry, 16th.
Yeah, and all these dates are on the public calendar on the website as well.
The June meeting is the 15th on a Tuesday.
I thought you said Wednesday, I'm sorry.
Okay, May 4th and June 15th, okay. Those are significant dates because we need to pay attention to that. And I think I would urge everybody to let people know about this upcoming discussion. I know that I've talked to my neighbors, and one of the comments I got from one of my neighbors, and I know this is just one person, but he said, "Who pays attention to the Doylestown Township website? If they sent me a postcard, I'd pay more attention to that." So, I mean,
To tell you that's not true either.
I don't know what to say about that, but we do need to pay attention to these meetings and to the information that comes out of them.
I just want to say real quick, with these meetings, they're coming very quickly. I think waiting to send Jim's letter is probably not advisable. I think sooner is better than later, especially if we want to follow up with the letter and do some individual calls on our own to the supervisors to just reinforce what Jim was sending. That's A. And then B, Dan, I'm just curious about the 7.5 million. Is that including any sustainability issues, including in the building, any green aspect? of the
I do
building?
not know.
Okay, can that be raised if that number comes up again, if that's including any of those important things?
Yeah, I'm sure it will be during the presentation.
All right,
At
right.
least from me, I'm sure Jen will bring it up as well.
All right, with all that said, then, let's not wait till our May meeting to address Jim's letter. Let's decide soon. Let's everybody read Jim's letter, give him some feedback. And then Jim, will you let us know what kind of feedback you get? And then we perhaps send it or perhaps not send it. Does that make sense?
yes.
Janine, if I could add something to that.
Yeah.
I have read Jim's letter. As soon as I got it, I did go through it. And I think it correctly captures the sense of this group down one of the paths, which is the building doesn't get built. The other path is the building does get built. And that's what Heidi was speaking to. And that's what we also talked about at
Right.
the first time we discussed this is If we're going to build a building, let's build a green building. Let's build to the latest understanding of how you do a environmentally sensitive building.
Yeah.
So that we don't end up just building, building the size of a CVS is the way we talked about it. That doesn't encompass any of those things.
Yes.
In this day and age, and certainly with the township wanting to be environmentally aware, you don't just go build that, tip up steel building. You build a green building. And I think given the timing of this,
Mhm.
if we're going to weigh in with the Board of Supervisors, if we only go down that one path and they say, nope, building a building, we've missed our opportunity to speak to the green building side of this.
Yes.
All right, Kurt, that's very good feedback. I will add a paragraph to the letter to indicate that, as an alternative, we want to partner with you to do a sustainable building, which can be a model for the community or something to that effect.
And
Sounds
Jamie,
good.
Jamie could also mention too, that the Board of Supervisors have committed to Ready for 100's resolution, by 2030, we're supposed to be moving, towards
Yeah.
being,
Yeah.
percentage of green. I mean, you can use that resolution as a, something to support that concept.
Exactly right. That's a good point. I'll do that.
Okay, so we're going to look at a revised version of Jim's letter soon. Give Jim feedback, yay or nay, send it or not, correct? And then we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But we're not going to delay until the second
All right,
Tuesday.
I'll try to do that by the end of the week.
Okay, that'd be great. All right, that was an important discussion. Thank you, Jim, for instigating this letter and everybody for input about a really important township decision. Well, I'm going to move us along then to the Penn State Extension new initiative called Watershed Friendly Properties. Was anybody able to open that email link from Penn State Extension? I know several of you indicated you were having trouble opening the link.
I just got a
couldn't open
404
it, but I
error.
just went to, oh, I'm sorry, Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a 404 error every time I tried to open it. So
Yeah.
I just Googled Penn State Extension watershed friendly properties, and that it just going directly through Penn State comes right up.
Yeah.
I could not get it through the link at all.
Yeah, Jenny, I did the same thing. I did it myself. I just Googled it.
Okay. What I'd like to suggest is that we consider that might be something we want to encourage. It's a program that connects to Birdtown, to Arbor Day, to all kinds of environmental issues. And like the Birdtown initiative, it involves people making some changes to their properties in order to make them more watershed friendly. We can also, at table events, when we can do that again, have lots of information for people from Penn State about watersheds, about what it means to be watershed friendly. And I would just like to suggest that we think about supporting that program. It's not a Birdtown program specifically, it's a Penn State program, it's not an Audubon program. So I don't know if you have any input about it.
Janine, I think, it's good to have different types of programs for different properties. I mean, Audubon just reworked their bird habitat recognition program. I really want to push that at our table events this year, but that's, those criteria may be very different from the criteria from the watershed program. And I think both are fantastic programs, and whatever way we can reach homeowners is the way is great. So I think it's good to support both of those programs.
Okay.
I
Anyone
would
else?
agree.
Thank you, Heidi. I don't know how we'll support them. Is anybody adamantly against supporting that program? Or if you haven't had a chance to look at it more carefully, we can wait to discuss it again.
I'm sorry, Jeannie, are we talking about a dollar amount here?
No,
No,
Support
No,
means, then what does support mean?
support means beginning to disseminate information about it.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I
I'm
think that-
sure Penn State undoubtedly has come up with a brochure or pamphlet or some sort of booklet of some sort that supports this program. And they're usually quite good about sharing that without a cost.
right.
Yeah, there's an online application and everything just so your property can be certified. right?
Exactly.
I see, okay.
Yeah, so well, maybe what we can do is get something on the township website about it ultimately, and then when we have summer concerts and table events and wherever else we do that this year, we can introduce the idea to our community and see what happens. So I'll pursue getting some materials then, if that's okay.
I think as part of that, it's important to remind everybody that we're all part of the watershed, right?
You know,
Like,
Can I,
You're right,
can I ask a
Connie.
question? This is Mel. Can I ask a question?
hi, Mel.
Yeah, hi. I'm not a member. I'm lurking. But
You're a
so,
guest.
so a watershed, just help me. So we've got Cooks Run Creek, right? And so things run into Cooks Run Creek, which Cooks Run Creek runs behind Westwick and over by Doyle Elementary School. So everybody knows my favorite topic, which is pesticides. So are pesticides like trying to get that down, the use of pesticides down? Is that part of protecting the watershed?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's an important component in watershed-friendly properties.
Yes.
The reduction of herbicides and insecticides. Yeah, that's very important to the whole program. Also, we all live in the Neshaminy watershed. Cooks Run runs into the Neshaminy. So we live in the Neshaminy watershed. Watershed means land, not water. It's the land
Right.
from which the water runs down into the major waterway in the region. One of the things that I think is fascinating is that I believe that Vermont is the only state in the United States that divided the state into watershed identifications rather than map lines.
Oh.
Isn't that
That's
interesting?
Yeah.
And Bucks County, Montgomery County, if you look at the map, there are straight lines. But there is another way of looking at a state, and that is to look at the watersheds, the way the water flows and how a region is divided up through those. So it's a terrific topic, and it's so important environmentally. So thanks, everybody. I'm going to get some materials and we'll start with that. Great.
I'm going to jump in real quick. Aaron, you and I talked last week about table events that are going to be coming up. Any further information about dates when concerts are going to be happening? Any decision made there?
Not quite yet. We're still firming up our entrance, but you should be seeing that shortly.
Great, fantastic. Because then we can start moving forward and organizing ourselves to provide that educational material at those events.
I can't wait. I always enjoy those events. They're so much fun. And if each one of us took, let's say, if we had 2 of us at 4 table events, look at all the information we'd be sharing. And it's fun. Yeah. So we'll move toward that then. Perhaps our May meeting then will include scheduling table events and who can do when. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, good. That's great. All right, moving along then. I don't see Eric Neal. Eric, are you here?
He's
Or
not here.
Marcello Mangano?
No.
They are. They have expressed an interest in.
Marcello's here.
Marcello,
Is
I'm here.
Marcello here?
Hi, hello.
hey,
Hi,
Bob.
where I don't see you. How come? Why not?
I see you.
Oh,
Oh, there he
you
is.
are. Great, Marcello. I'm glad you're here.
I'm here.
So
I wouldn't miss it.
Marcello has expressed an interest in attending EAC meetings, and I'm glad you're here tonight. And you do have the agenda, correct?
Yep, I do. Thank you for including me.
That's great. So welcome.
We're so glad to have you here.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I wanted to add one small item, and I won't prolong it, but today there was a lot of emailing flying around about bamboo. Why? It's one of the things that comes along with this job that I have here, and that is sometimes I get a phone call or an email and somebody says something about the environment. So the subject of bamboo planting came up, and there was a flurry of emailing today, some of it instigated by me, some by others, but and I wasn't clear on some things, but just to add to the new business tonight, on Monday, Stephanie and Aaron, I hope you're there, and
Sinclair
Salisbury and Heidi and I are going to meet sometime on Monday just to take a look at bamboo restriction and/or prohibition in Doylestown Township. The issue that came up today ended up being about clumping bamboo, not running bamboo. And so we're going to explore this together on Monday. And if there's more to share, we'll share it at the May meeting. So it's another issue that just came up. I don't know about you guys, but I'm no friend of bamboo. So, anyway. All right.
Claire's a great plant guy, so he'll
Yeah,
know.
he knows plants. Yeah. Yeah. He got back to me later in the day and said, this is clumping bamboo. He actually took a look at it.
Hey,
So-
Janine, if I can interrupt for a moment, is
Of
there
course.
like an invasive task force that's in the state that you guys could lean on for information? Sometimes they, have conversations already about bamboo and restrictions, and they could probably advise you if there is one up in the state.
I don't know if there's a task force per se, but there is the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources has a list of noxious weeds, and bamboo is listed on that.
Correct.
So, but I don't know if there's a task force that could advise us. Aaron and Stephanie and Sinclair are going to share with Heidi and me how strong our prohibition or restriction on bamboo
Sure.
is. And we'll know more about that when we sit down with them.
Okay.
But in New Jersey, which is where you work,
Correct.
is there such a thing, a task force that advises?
There is a task force. It was mandated by Governor Murphy. He put together a collective to kind of discuss both invasive plants and insects. They've also made restrictions on the trade and discouraged certain types of plants to be sold in the trade industry. Bamboo is one of, not all types of bamboo, but some bamboo is on the list itself. And it's beyond the, the list that you'd see for invasive weed seeds and things like that are found in mixes. So they've gone the extra step, but I'm not familiar with Pennsylvania and what they have set up is regarding invasives. But there would be typically a person to communicate with in New Jersey to have a similar type of conversation with them. Instead of just having to reinvent this yourself or kind of take it upon yourself to make that determination. I can't speak for Pennsylvania, unfortunately.
Okay, interesting that New Jersey has an invasive plant.
Well, it's just an invasive task force. It's both insect and plant.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I guess that's part of perhaps what we have to pursue. I mean, or at least find out about.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, ongoing business. Arbor Day is coming up very quickly. And that it is April 24th. It's also the work day at the Native Plant Demonstration Garden. And we do have 13 1-gallon Eastern Red Cedars to plant. And I did have a chance to scope the area with Chris Mason, our park superintendent. And it looks like we can put 13 little Eastern Red Cedars in the area between the bird blind and the townhouses beyond it. I'm not sure, Aaron, you'll have to help me with this. Who is going to coordinate the reading of the Arbor Day proclamation, which has to happen as well?
Yeah, so I'm coordinating with Dave right now, but it will either be myself and Dave. That's already been signed by Dave. So it has been signed. We just need to read it now.
Okay, so either you or Dave, I guess?
Correct.
Okay, fabulous, thanks. So we're clear on Arbor Day. And,
Yes.
And if later in the year, we can pursue the area of the township that took serious tree damage from that tornado last August, I guess you'll guide us on that?
Yes, that's still planned for this fall. I know we just heard back from PennDOT late last week. They still have not cleaned the area of fallen trees, and they have not mapped out where they would like to plant trees and asked for our input yet. So we are still working with them to coordinate with that. You will have seen some trees go up in that area. However, those are all on private property by the property owners.
Okay, all right, so, and just to say, if anybody wants to talk trees, your EAC would be glad to talk about choosing trees, planting trees, we do have some information to share about that. That's just for anybody in the township who would like to discuss that. So thank you, we're set for Arbor Day. That's important because don't forget, your EAC is also your Shade Tree Commission and we are a Tree City USA, which is why we have to have the Arbor Day event every year. So, all right, what about this proposal that Colleen Mullen presented to us about the possibility of a township leaf and yard waste pickup. And did you and Colleen pursue that at all?
Well, Colleen's going to bring it to Ways and Means because she was not able to present it to them last month. Their meeting was postponed till this month. They meet in 2 weeks. I believe it's on the 28th. So she will bring it to them. And depending on the outcome of that meeting, if Ways and Means says, absolutely not, there's no way we're funding anything like that, that it's dead then.
Okay,
If they say, well, let's explore, or sure, that sounds terrific, then my understanding is the rules have changed as to how things are presented to the Board of Supervisors. At this point, neither Colleen or I could present. We could be there to support, but it would have to be you and the chair of Ways and Means who actually do the presentation to the Board of Supervisors, if we get that far.
okay, so we won't be talking about this much until we hear from Colleen.
Correct. And their meeting, like I said, is I believe it's 2 weeks from tomorrow. So there, we just won't know until after that meeting.
And I
But it
assume-
is on their agenda for this month.
Okay, and so there'll be some emailing or something about that, so we'll know where we stand.
Well, I'm waiting on Colleen, right. She'll let me know, I'm sure. She's very good about that.
Okay, thank you. So we're moving, we'll know more next month for sure. Okay, Earth Day at Bucks County Audubon was on Saturday. Heidi, how'd it go?
I don't know. I wasn't there, but I did check in with folks to see how it went. I did drop off some materials last week. They had about 100 people. Sounded like it was a really good event. Unfortunately, our materials got a little bit lost. They were not included on the EAC table, but the Women's Farm and Garden Association, their chapter president, found our materials and displayed them next to their table. So really, Representative Greenwood was there. He noticed them as well, and they had a long discussion about birds. So actually, it was really worthwhile having our materials there. And then Jim Mansfield from Solebury felt just horrified that he didn't find the materials. He was in charge of them. So he really talked up Ready for 100 a lot and really emphasized the leadership that Doylestown Township has been doing with that initiative. So anyway, it all worked out, thank goodness. I was a little concerned, but it all worked out. So
It's been a tough year for events.
it has. Yeah.
Yes, let's hope that things start to smooth out. Maybe this is a good time to ask how we're doing with vaccines, because wouldn't it be great to meet in person someday soon? I just had my second vaccine last Thursday, so I'll be good for May.
Yay.
Is anybody else going to be good for a May
I'm-
meeting?
Vaccinated plus 3 weeks.
I'm
Anybody else?
vaccinated.
I'm scheduled for this week.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm
I've got
scheduled for my
first-
second on the 7th. Sorry, Dan.
it's all right.
Oh, good.
On the
I've got my
7th of
first one
May?
Friday.
Okay.
Okay, Tanya, did you say the
7th.
7th? Okay, the 7th of May. And Dan,
Friday's my first one.
Friday's your first one. Okay.
I'm
Um,
getting my second tomorrow.
Okay, Kurt's getting the
Yay.
second. So you know what?
So what about Aaron? Aaron, what about you?
I'll be good by May.
By May meeting? Okay.
And Aaron, can you tell us how other councils and boards are handling this right now? Or is
So
anybody
most other
meeting?
boards are having a similar question, and most of them are giving it another month to decide, and most of them are aiming for in person in June. But a lot of them are also maintaining Zoom in case some people prefer that method either for convenience, or still are not comfortable within the setting. And based on the size of the meeting, we have a couple of spaces that work in order to do proper, social distancing.
Aaron, is it possible to have a hybrid then? That we have
It is,
some in
it is
person and some?
possible.
Okay,
We have a medium-sized caucus room that does have video conferencing capabilities where we are able to do a hybrid model.
So what do you guys think, May or June? Or should we have a hybrid in May and then try to meet in person in June?
Good idea.
That seems like a reasonable suggestion.
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, then
I
let's.
would, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I will say, like, from my perspective, Board of Supervisors, I haven't attended any of the meetings in person since things started getting worse. And I will probably be back going in, depending on when I get my second vaccination, probably June. So
Okay, so we can wait till June and we can have one more Zoom meeting for old time's sake.
And we're set up to do a hybrid meeting, so.
Okay, all right. And is there pretty good ventilation in there, in that medium-sized meeting room?
Yes.
All right, so we'll stick with that. Okay, hybrid in May. In person in June. That sounds pretty exciting. I can't wait to see all of you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be good. Okay, so moving along then, non-toxic communities, we are working on a brochure to share, and Heidi and Mel, would you take it away?
I'm sure. So Mel and I and Janine have been working on this brochure. Primarily, it's a pamphlet just giving information about what pesticides are, the impacts that they have on humans, children, as well as ecosystems, then giving suggestions of what folks can do and resources. So we're still in the midst of pulling this all together. We're also adding a component of looking to get a speaker for the One Health series over at Del Val, possibly also doing a panel discussion. So that's still on the table. And then thirdly, we're talking about signage, seeing if we can offer some kind of sign that folks can take home with them to put on their properties to show that they're a non-toxic yard or a healthy habitat. So that's something that we're working with as well. And then also signage about the application of pesticides and herbicides on park properties, just explaining that it's not just a one-day thing, but actually that it actually extends on to several days, even to a week with that residue. So just really trying to communicate that to the public about that. So that's something that we're also working on, creating the appropriate language about that. So we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. It's we're working really hard, and we're meeting on Thursday.
Right, Thursday morning. Okay, thank you. It's going to be a nice brochure, yet more educational material, which is one of our missions. We keep trying to teach people about good environmental awareness.
And Mel, thank
And,
you.
and by the way, I'm sorry, Marcello, aren't you an expert in this kind of thing? Aren't you a chemist by training?
So I'm not an expert on this subject. We do deal with pesticides, but not in this capacity. We do
Okay.
for pesticides on plant material that's sold as an agricultural commodity. In this case, we look at pesticides on hemp, medical marijuana based on restrictions. But no, it's not really, as from an environmental perspective, I would not say I'm an expert on the subject.
Okay.
Just the analysis of.
You probably know more than I do, though. I'll tell you that.
Well, if we need to, well, here's the thing with the information that we're putting together. Of course, we're going to share it with all of you.
Of course.
And so if there's more input, if somebody does know something that we didn't include and should have, of course, you'll all have a chance to change whatever it is that we develop. The watershed friendly property initiative from Penn State Extension is very much involved with reducing pesticides. So whether we have whether we encourage those signs for properties or whether we create another kind of sign, we don't know yet, but we'll move along. Okay, EAC concerns and ideas about township-owned lots and open space. This is it's hard to get meetings.
Yes.
So right now we have a September 14th.
Oh, my goodness.
9:30 a.m. meeting that is going to include, right now, it will include a lot of different subjects, but more importantly, these are the people that it will include. Some of us, and anybody else who wants to show up, Stephanie, Dave Tomko, Aaron, and Judy Hendrickson from the Planning Commission. And maybe there'll be another person from that group. And we need to write an agenda that includes Ready for 100 issues and issues around township-owned lots and open space and the possibility of creating biological corridors along the line of Doug Tallamy's Homegrown National Park idea. So this meeting in September is going to be it's going to have a couple of focal points, but they're all important around increasing the the awareness of sustainability and strong land stewardship as well in this township. So that's what happened. That's how this meeting evolved, and that's how big the subject matter became. Does anybody want to say anything about that? It's hard to get people together.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we're one of many groups that are trying to get their attention. It's,
Mhm. Mhm. But I'm glad that the planning, we've talked about how we should be talking. Jim, I think you're the person who said it clearly. We should be talking to the Township Planning Commission. Yeah, so this is our opportunity to get some
yeah.
conversation going with
Oh,
them.
this is good. I'm surprised at how long into the calendar, but in a way it's good because we can really get all our ducks in a row. I mean, we can be well prepared for that meeting
Yes.
with this much lead time. So that's good.
Yeah,
I just put it on the calendar, make sure
excellent.
I keep it blocked off.
Okay, great. All right, good. And anybody else, let's start thinking about what it is we want to say. And, but the subjects are listed here, they're on your agenda, and the people are listed there as well.
And by the way, that open space plan would be helpful reading prior to that meeting as well, because it does talk about different kinds of open space, who owns it, where it's located, and so on and so forth. So,
Mhm.
it would be incumbent upon us to, I think, to do our homework as well.
Yeah.
I know
that
Kara's not here, but we should share that with her. Maybe she would be interested. to
Yeah,
read
she-
that.
We get access to that on the website, or is that public?
Either Aaron can send it to you or I can send it to you.
Okay,
I'll send it to everybody.
thank you.
And we can meet in person again. That might be a subcommittee meeting that we should try and do. Just on that, just focus on that of going through together.
The open
that.
space plan,
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a big chunk.
it is. It
So
is.
I think it'd be helpful if we could help each other. Maybe
Yeah.
each take a section, whatever. I don't know, but
And how do you think we should handle that? Do you want to have are you suggesting that perhaps before September is
oh,
some?
yeah. So
We
that we're
meet
ready.
Specifically about the open space plan.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, those of us who have said we can go to that September.
Right.
meeting.
The township takes that open space plan as a 10-year guideline.
Yes, okay.
So that's something that we need to at least know where it's at. Because we're going to run into a wall otherwise.
Will somebody, and can you be the person who makes sure that that subcommittee meets prior to September?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, I mean, you were on that committee for the
Yep.
township, and I hear you, and I think it is important for us to sit down.
Well, that was Jim's idea, and I think it's very good that we become aware of it, or Tanya too, that we actually become aware of what's in the ordinance, or what's in the plan, I should say. It's not an ordinance, what's in the plan
Mhm.
before we charge in, because we're going to look like idiots if we don't know what they've already come up with.
Mhm. Yep, it's long. and
Believe me, I know. I was the idiot at the, going
Yeah,
in,
so-
oh, you can't do that. And that,
It's
like,
interesting though. It's interesting. It took me several hours, to go through it, but it was worth it. It was
Yeah.
definitely worth it. I
Yeah.
know, I feel like I know more as a result. So you're right. All right. So we will meet at some point, maybe in August.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. But if everybody could get a copy, if Aaron or whoever could send out everyone a copy.
I just sent it out to everybody.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Because it's a long read. It's not exactly riveting. So it might be something you want to do sort of over time.
Okay. Good. Next, Bucks County Planning Commission Citizens Design Advisory Committee on the Neshaminy Greenway Trail Segment 2/Dark Hollow Park. Well, we are meeting Thursday at 6:30 in the evening. Tanya and Kurt, can either of you make that?
Yeah, I plan to be there, Janine.
Okay, great. Tanya?
So yeah, I cannot, because we have a Shark Tank-like event that I have to host.
Okay, but Kurt's going to be here this time. That's good. It's just
Sorry.
we have, more of us represented.
Mhm.
This has turned into a fascinating experience. This will be the third meeting. The last meeting we had with the Bucks County Planning Commission about this trail was mostly about different kinds of paving surfaces. It wasn't what we'd anticipated. However, they did reduce they have changed their approach to this trail. We're not clear yet on how many more meetings we're going to have or what they are going to present, but we do have, there's a small group of us, Andrea Strout from Buckingham EAC, Maria Carrata, who is a resident who has presented to us, as you know, Joyce Ely from Neshaminy Watershed Association, and me and Diane Smith from Bucks County Audubon and Buckingham EAC. We're going to be presenting a little PowerPoint of our own at
Good.
that meeting on Thursday night about our concerns. And I must admit that reading that open space plan was really good. And even in connection to this Neshaminy Greenway Trail system, it was good for me to hear, where all this is coming from and what the long range plans are. Because the trail system is important. It's great for the community, but some of it may not be good for the environment. And that's what we'll be talking about again this Thursday. So that's an update.
I have a question about that, Janine. I know at the first meeting, it seemed like they were just focusing on the area around the park in Jamison, right? That the other area in Doyle Township was no longer on the table, at least at this moment. So did that change?
We're not sure.
Okay,
about
because
that.
I was confused about that.
Yeah, so are we, a little bit confused here, but there was a change in the plan between February and March, those two meetings, in that instead of pursuing that 2-mile segment between Route 611 and Route 263 along the Neshaminy Creek,
Right.
they had changed it to a 0.7 mile loop starting on Valley Road in Warwick Township.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So that's what happened. However, that the trail, the longer trail is still on the books as far as we know. So
Okay.
we're operating with that assumption that they haven't dropped that plan. They've just modified for now.
Okay.
So-
A little bit from what I know, talking to Commissioner Bob Harvey about that. The plan, yes, is technically on the books, but they are not planning to proceed with it anytime soon due to the permitting processes they have to go through because it's a wetlands area and the environmental studies required. Basically, all the additional expense to make sure it would be done properly and analyze the impact, and they just don't have the money to do that right now.
You know what's interesting, Dan? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Kind of sorry, I was just about to wrap up. It's still kind of, it's still there, but they're not planning on pursuing it in the near future, whatever that ends up being. The county itself does not have the money.
I think one reason that the group, especially this little group that has walked the trail and all that, the group that I'm part of, I think one of the reasons we're still concerned is that there was some kind of action on boreholes for bridge building in that segment. I don't know how many boreholes they've drilled. I don't know how that went. So we have questions. Okay, if they're not going to proceed with that long trail right next to the creek, then why were the boreholes dug? So we have questions as you
Yeah.
do, Tanya.
It's fair following up on that. It may be they already paid for part of that study to be done, but worth asking why they did that. I can't say I know.
Yeah, we don't know either. So we'll see what we can find out. But we're also hoping that this committee remains for several more months. So there's a lot to talk about. But we have no idea. This could be the last meeting, or maybe there'll be 10 more. We don't know. So more on that later. I did send you all, I included in the packet a memo that I wrote that I have sent to the Bucks County Planning Commission and Bucks County Commissioners and several other people. And I sent it to you so that you know that's my voice, but I know that some of you agree with what I wrote, and I wanted to share it with you. And any input that you guys have, I'll take it to this meeting. But does anybody have a question or a comment about that memo?
Yeah, I thought it was really well written, Janine. Thank you so much for putting that together. It was I love all the different aspects that you included. I love you quoting Aldo Leopold in it several times. It was very powerful, and thank you for writing it.
You're welcome. I had to mention Aldo Leopold because that environmental ethic can't be ignored.
Right.
Even as we develop parks and trails and more recreational activities. And he's the one to lean on.
I agree.
Anybody else comments about that? Okay, thanks. So, Birdtown, Heidi, you've been sending some stuff, and there's a Nest Watch going on. Can you give us an update on Birdtown / Mid-Atlantic Audubon?
Yeah, so I have a lot of exciting information. Actually, I have three things. I'm first going to start with Birdtown itself. I hear from voices, from different places that saying that Birdtown is no longer viable. It doesn't really exist, and it was really frustrating me. So Mid-Atlantic, so Audubon's in the middle of, becoming a regional office, as I've mentioned before, and it's still very much in the works. A new CEO has been identified. She's already been in place for a few months. So I just really wanted to push the issue and say, where are we with Birdtown? So I contacted Val Peckman from Audubon, PA, and she, we had a really wonderful conversation, and she said, yes, the program is still very much viable. They do really want to see the program move forward. And so we talked about how to do that. They really don't have the money to pay for a staff person. So it was recommended by Jasmine Lee, a University of Penn student. She did a whole review of the program, recommended putting a leadership committee together. So I said I'd be willing to help put that together. So they said yes. So I didn't expect that, but I wanted to jump on. I think it's really important to move the program forward. So I've organized a working group. We have Lee Altadonna, Phil Whitmer, a gal from Delaware, Val Peckman, and myself. We're actually putting a working group together, reevaluating the program, seeing what needs to be still done, reworking the application, the certification process, and creating this advisory committee in a way to make sure that it's sustainable and long lasting. So we've already drafted up some bylaws, reviewing all the different bird towns, where their status is, if they were being active, inactive, and so on. So it's a whole overhaul. We hope to have all the work done by September. But I'm very excited because I think the program's in really great shape. It will be in really great shape, and I feel really positive about it moving forward. So I'm really glad about that. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. And as far as our own bird town, I've been pushing a lot of things. We just had our bird walk on Saturday. Sadly, it was not as well attended as I hoped because I did do a lot of marketing and advertising. But we did see 30 birds, 30 different species, which was fantastic. And it was a great day. And I know, just keep on pushing forward. I really think it has a lot to do with COVID and the pandemic of people not showing up. So, we'll continue to work on that. Our next one is on May 8th, which is going to be in the middle of spring migration. A ton of warblers are going to be coming through. So I hope if any of you guys can come, you should try to come. Diane Smith will be leading that walk. And then thirdly, the Nest Watch. Yes, that's been going really well. There's 4 volunteers. We're monitoring 12 different boxes. One of my volunteers, Jess, is super excited. One of her boxes has little bluebird eggs already in it. Ooh. That's super exciting. 3 of my boxes have nesting materials in them. I think maybe 1 tree swallow. So I'm really excited about it. We have a little bit under 40 boxes now because of the moving things around. But they're all, looking really good. I really feel good about where we are with our bluebird boxes. I think they're really good locations now. They're being well monitored and paid attention to. And so, yeah, I think things are looking up for Birdtown. I'm really excited. And one more thing, the bird habitat recognition program, that's been rehauled, and that was just relaunched probably about a week ago. So I'll be getting new materials that we can share at the future table events. So
that's terrific. Aaron, I think you might have some old materials. It's probably time to recycle that.
Okay.
And because it looks like we're going to get some new materials about Birdtown and the bird habitat recognition program. So just a heads up, if you have a moment, let's just move out all the old Birdtown materials because it sounds like there's new stuff coming in.
Hey, Aaron, I would hold off. Let me take a look at what you have before you do that, just to make sure that we don't throw anything away that we shouldn't. Let's review that before you do that.
Sure.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Could I just ask at this point, Heidi, are you going to write the article then for the newsletter about Birdtown? Is that
okay? I mean, yeah. I'm not ready to do a pesticides one yet. I think we need a little bit more time. I'd like to be a little further down the road with our pamphlet and so on and what we're doing. Would that be okay to do it on Birdtown instead?
Fine with me.
Fine with me.
Okay,
Sure.
great.
I think you're on.
Awesome, I'll do it.
And, include the fact that we have bird walks.
Absolutely.
That's really that, because I would love to see, remember when Ray Hendrick had a couple of them? And
We do them all the time, yeah.
it was fun. And we had a pretty good turnout. We need to try to stoke that flame again.
I will. It'll come back. I think just with the pandemic and all, and everyone being at home, we gotta reunite all that interest and enthusiasm for that. It's just gonna take time to come back.
Okay, thanks.
Before, I also noticed that Eric Neal jumped on. So hey, Eric, so glad that you could join us tonight.
Good.
Hi,
Eric.
Eric.
Yeah, thanks very much for the invite.
Okay,
Thanks very
Sure.
much for the invite.
glad you're here. Heidi, can you finish with the invasive plant of the month then?
Yes, so we were supposed to do garlic mustard for this month, but I've been noticing there's so many calorie pears everywhere. They're so beautiful, but so bad. So I'm gonna focus on that this month. So Erin, I'll be getting that material, that final version of the invasive plant for this month by Friday to put up on the Facebook page. Okay, so I'll do garlic mustard next month instead.
Okay, and let's make sure that we have a hard copy for the display case.
Yes.
That's a good thing to post down there.
Okay.
Okay, new tree signs. Aaron, let's hear more about the new tree signs. And we'll need to have a site selection pretty soon. I don't know where to put them particularly, and I hope everybody has some ideas.
Yep, so that is the big question right now is the site selection. Currently, they got delivered yesterday, actually. Oh, not yesterday, on Friday, sorry. We didn't order the frames, and that saved us, almost $1,800 or so. And Chris Mason is working with Rich, and he's gonna basically try to make a similar frame that we've used previously. So they should match what we already have existing. But I can certainly show them to you next time you're in the township office as well. They came out quite nice.
Good.
Excited.
Let's figure out who can walk with me and Chris Mason to think about where to put these two signs. One says, well, Anne, why don't you say it? What trees?
Trees for ecosystems and trees for humans. There are our two main topic headers, I guess.
Mhm. So we need to think about where to put those signs. And if you have a strong suggestion, let me know. And we'll take a walk. We'll schedule a walk and we'll look around and see where they should go. And I did tell you last month that we are going to have a new bench over by the Native Plant Demonstration Garden in honor of Don Richardson. And there's this beautiful yellowwood tree planted in his honor over there as well. And now we're going to be putting these little baby Eastern red cedars over there. But we don't want to overdo the signage in any particular location,
Yeah. Mhm.
So we need to think about this. And should those two signs be near each other? Or should they be wide apart? Where will they be most effective? I don't know.
Are they going to be, Central Park is the only place, it's going to be a part of Central Park, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We could do it. I mean, Stephanie has mentioned that we can put signs along the Neiman Trail as well. I don't know if we want to, but we have that option.
Maybe we need to think about that. And where
I mean, that might lend itself more to watershed. I mean, to maybe a different expression, not necessarily trees, although there is an area that's forested.
Yeah.
Doesn't get as much traffic though.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
I'll
I'll come walk with you, Janine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we'll take a walk
Yeah.
and we'll see what we think. Aaron, I guess, okay, let me write down who would like to take a walk.
Depends where it
Depending on
is.
when you go, I may go. Just let me know when you're going, and if I have time, I'll go. If I don't,
Okay, so Tanya, Jim,
If it's, let's say in the evening after work, I could do that. Yeah.
okay. And Tanya, does the evening work for you?
depends.
Okay,
So that's why just let me know.
okay,
Sometimes it does, sometimes it
I will.
doesn't.
okay. Anne's gonna go too. Good. Anne, evening?
Yeah, I can do the evening.
Okay, I can too. It won't be late and it'll still be light.
Well, yeah, we have light for a little while anyway.
Yeah, and and the park closes at dusk anyway, so maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah.
We walk for a half hour, talk about it, maybe we'll come up with a decision. And
Yeah.
we'll see if Chris Mason can be part of that. If he
But
can't,
that's what I was going to
okay.
say. What about Chris? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's after hours for him.
Yeah, it's after hours for Chris, but but I see him regularly anyway, because we meet to work on the display case,
Yeah.
you know, so he doesn't have to be part of the walk and talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah, but okay, good. So we're gonna have a tree site selection walk.
You can put me on that list too, if you want to, Janine.
Okay, Eric, great. Okie dokie. Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna have I think that's gonna be interesting and wonderful. We'll do it pretty soon.
Oh,
Okay.
I have a request.
Yes, ma'am.
Aaron, would there be any possibility you could take a picture of the signs and send them out for us?
Good idea.
Just so we could see
Yeah, I'll
them in
send you
real
the
life and
PDFs.
live and in person kind of thing?
Yeah, I have PDFs of them.
Oh,
I can
good,
send-
okay,
I can send that out. I think that'll be a little easier for people to use.
okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. I wanted to add something to the tree sign item tonight. Kara Raymond suggested that maybe we could come up with a brochure about trees. And it occurred to me that maybe we can adapt the tree sign information to a little brochure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The same stuff, basically,
Exactly, yeah,
you know, but it could be another item to share with people.
absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
so we could probably put that on just in our thinking caps right now.
Yeah,
But maybe Kara would help us with that too.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Native plant demonstration garden. Well, it was awesome. Our first work day, it was incredible. Eric was there. He'll back me up on this. We had 21 master gardeners, a total
Wow.
of 30 volunteers. And in 2 hours, we got so much done. It was amazing. And master gardeners are enthusiastic and willing to keep showing up.
Oh, great.
And so we will be able to move plants around. Chris Mason was able to get us a nice pile of wood chips so that in this month's work day, we will be able to refresh the pathways with fresh wood chips. The expansion area is being cleaned up at a record pace because there are so many volunteers with tools and experience that it's just really, I was just blown away.
That's what that pile of wood chips is
Yeah.
freshly dumped there. I saw it the other day.
That's for our pathways. Yep.
Morning, actually, but
Yep. So the native plant garden is getting some good attention. And what I'd like to do in April is also dig up the plants that are closest to the pathways of the stone pathway. And we're going to widen that a little bit with wood chips. It's too narrow. So but we can get that done. That's a lot. That's tedious work, but with so many volunteers, we can get a lot done.
Can I add one thing real quick? Is there any way to do some kind of native planting around the amphitheater, you know, just to get more attention over, you know, towards the kids' castle? There's, you know, I know there's been talk off and on about plantings over by the amphitheater. Is that possible to do a native planting there as well?
It would be nice. I don't know. We'd have to pursue that as a separate project.
I mean, down the road, since you have so many helpers now, I was just thinking.
Yeah, there are so many
maybe-
helpers.
Right, maybe in the next, you know, few months, maybe a plan could start being developed and thought about. We have a committee now. It would just be great if we could expand the native plantings further into the park, you know, and the amphitheater seems like such a good location.
You know, over by the amphitheaters, there's also that I'm sorry, it's a lame display about Native people.
Right, the rock.
The
Yes, the
rock. It's
yeah.
just, it's awful. And we talked maybe 2 or 3 years ago about trying to improve that.
Longer than that, yeah.
You know, wouldn't it be a great spot to put native plants that were used by Native peoples?
That'd be awesome.
We had talked
Yeah.
about all of that, yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't developed that, but that's right by the amphitheater.
Can we do both? I mean, now that you have a committee set up and you have a lot of helpers, maybe in the next few months, start developing a plan for those two
It's
areas?
an interesting idea. Eric, what do you think about that? You're on the committee.
so on the usage around the amphitheater itself, though, when they actually use it, people spread out. You've probably been to an event where I mean, would we have to, you're thinking about having designated beds, I suppose. Is that what you're talking
And
about?
like in the very front of it, you know, between the parking lot and the amphitheater, there's a space there that could be a bed right there that people wouldn't be tramping on there. I mean, certainly we'd have to look
A lot
at
of
it.
times the booths and the little booths and things are set up there as well, too. So we need to think about how that space gets used when it does get used.
Right.
Obviously, it didn't last year, but a lot of times, a lot of that space is pretty filled up. And that's fine. We don't need to necessarily plan around that, but we don't want the township to say, hey, you know, we can't designate more space for beds, but around that's the native stone there, that space is never used for anything.
Right.
So I think we could absolutely put beds.
Karen
Yeah, but it
Sweeney-
might be
I'm sorry.
tougher.
Karen Sweeney's been very eager to have some sort of plantings around the amphitheater for a while. So it would have to go through her, and I think Parks would have to fund it. I don't think we should have to foot the bill on that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So she'd be the one to contact. Because she knows where the band bus pulls up and they need to have X number of feet,
Right.
all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
Correct.
she's the
Okay.
one that would have to be looped in on that.
I think we'll put that on not a back burner, a middle burner, Heidi.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
like it'd be nice to be thinking about like as the year goes on, to
Yeah.
start getting the native, demonstration gardens throughout the township.
And
Well,
you know,
and
I'm sorry.
go
does
ahead.
it sound like some planning has already been done around this?
Planning's been done. There is a plan for the Indian Rock, if you will, spot. That was a Bucks Beautiful project that never happened because the township delayed so long in approving it that they lost their volunteers and the funding for it. So, but there is a plan somewhere. Bucks Beautiful made a plan with all
And they
native plants that were used by Native Americans.
And when they built the amphitheater, was there ever any planning for landscaping around that?
If there was, I don't know about it.
How do we get those plans? How do we get the Bucks Beautiful plan for the native rock and then also for?
I can ask Denise for it if she still got it. I mean, that was probably 5 years ago that
Yeah,
this was done.
it was a long time ago.
It was quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
Do you mind
Um,
asking Denise about it, Anne?
Of course.
That'd be great.
If she has it, I'm sure she'd be happy to give it to us. If it's no longer, then we have to start from scratch. But it's not a huge area to do.
Right.
It's a doable thing.
You know, one time in the recent past, I was at Churchville Nature Center, and they have a great display of plants used by Native people.
Mhm, they do.
And
We do.
all we I
Just copy that then, yeah.
We could just copy that. I actually have photographs of it. So if I dug out my photographs, we have some research already done.
Good.
Yeah, I think the big problem with the Indian Rock is although there are signs saying don't climb on it, not only do kids climb on it, but parents put their kids up on it. And so there has to be some sort of barrier, not just plantings, but a barrier to keep people the hell out of there, quite frankly. Because
Is there any
otherwise
harm?
they're just going to trample the plants that we put in to put their kid up on the rock for the photo op. So that's something we need to think a little further than just what are we going to plant? We need
Right.
some sort of
Right.
fencing or rocks or something that says no further.
Yeah. So it would be a pretty good sized project, actually, because of the need for fencing or some kind of barrier and the selection of the plants, the preparation of the area. It would be a pretty good sized project, but I think we should put it on our list of wishes. It's a beautiful idea, Heidi.
Oh,
And-
thank
and-
you.
And Anne, I know that you and I have talked about it before too. So let's just get it rolling. It should be in the realm of possibility to do that. And that reminds me of something I forgot to mention. Marty Brooks told me that he's about 2/3 of the way in getting us some more boulders for the native plant area, which would help to define it even more. I like big boulders, not little rocks, but
Right.
he's working on getting more big boulders. Wouldn't that be great?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Marty having a boulder guy.
Well, cross our fingers, but he told me, he brought it up. I didn't even ask him about it this time. So I know
Just
he's
a quick
working on
side
it.
note on that, one of the, I wonder if we've ever considered building a bit of a snake habitat in their area.
You had asked me about that before, and wouldn't it be interesting? I don't know where that,
That's what makes me think of the use of those rocks and boulders, because that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the features of a snake habitat.
True, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. I think it would be interesting, just like the Pollinator Palace is certainly of great interest to people.
I think that the idea of a snake habitat right there in the center of the park is not going to go over well. I mean,
Do you think that's a bridge too far, Jim?
I think that's a bridge too far. I really do.
Well, nobody has to actually know that it's a snake habitat.
That's true. If we don't label it.
Don't
I
label
guess,
it,
you know,
and it's just a pile of rocks.
I will say though, you know, but Eric, actually, the Pollinator Palace also had an infestation of some kind of wasp last year, right? And it had to be roped off. So I think we have to be a little bit careful, I think, about if people start seeing snakes, if we actually attract snakes. I just think that it's gonna, I don't think it's gonna go over well, personally.
Just let me know where the snakes are so I can stay clear. That's all I want to know.
Oh, Dan, you love them.
No, I don't.
You know,
I'll jump in here real quick. Did anyone see that? And this is the big 17th year for the cicadas emerging, and apparently they
Oh,
draw
yeah.
copperheads. I never knew that before.
I
But
never
copperheads,
did.
Okay, what?
copperheads like eat cicadas, so apparently
This
watch.
isn't their preferred habitat. They're a little further north.
Are they okay?
Yeah, Upper Bucks you may see a copperhead, as to my knowledge, in Upper Bucks County, but not necessarily right around here. I don't think we have the right altitude or a habitat for them. Eric, you know more about snakes than I do. What do you think about
I don't
copperheads?
know specifically where copperheads might be, but copperheads do tend to be more of a water snake, don't they?
I thought they were more of a mountain snake.
Well, as long as they're not more of a Doylestown
Sorry.
snake, I think we're okay.
Right, I'm
Right.
thinking of cottonmouths, actually.
Ah,
copperheads
okay.
are-
Well, so Eric, thank you for the suggestion. You can hear that the reaction is mixed.
I love the idea, but I don't think
I like the
probably the
boulders.
park is not going to work.
I like the boulders, but I don't know if we should actively encourage snakes.
There is a pretty good sized snake that hangs out in the basin area, which is right across from the garden.
Oh, good to know.
It's a pretty good sized snake.
I understand the human part, but we should, of course, actively encourage snakes. They would be good for the little ecosystem we're building.
That's true. You're right.
It's true.
But we could think about maybe placing it, you know where there might be a good spot for a herpetoриum. You know, the invasive plant walk that goes, it's on the other side of the basin from the garden. And it's kind of it's a kind of a loop that goes through.
I didn't know it was called that, but yes, there's a couple
Yeah.
signs about invasive plants, so yes.
It's a
Yeah,
Pico
and
thing,
that was paid for, I think, by Pico, maybe
Pico project, yeah.
12 or 14 years ago. That area isn't close to the garden. And there's that area might be a spot for such a venture. We could think about it. Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll bring it up again. So, last item, EAC Summit planning process. I was able to find the thing I wrote. I don't know if this is what you guys had in mind. I did include it as part of your packet.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, begins in March, and it's just a planning process so that we have something. Does that pass muster, or do we need something better?
No, that's what I was thinking. It looked great to me, Janine. Thank you for putting it together.
Yeah, it's very detailed.
Yeah, it's, so we don't have to try to reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah.
So,
So it is April. I mean, are we going to be thinking about putting a summit together then?
well, we've talked about having a deer summit, and Eric Allen from Salisbury Township and I are still in touch about having a deer summit.
But this would be would this be an additional summit, or
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Oh, I thought that was the summit, the deer summit.
Oh,
It's literally on every agenda. I mean, every EAC would have deer as a problem on their agenda, I would think.
I thought Salisbury was going to lead that activity.
I did too.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like Eric and me, because nobody else is really talking about it or pursuing it. So about once a month, we touch base. Their deer inventory done by the drone at night with infrared camera, infrared photography was delayed by snow, but it did happen, and the data is being compiled.
Okay.
So we will have information from Salisbury Township about what they discovered from a formal inventory about their deer population. As far as this summit goes, I would be okay with a fall summit focused on deer, inviting EACs from the whole area. But if somebody has a different idea, then great. It doesn't have to focus on deer, but it does seem logical.
Could we co-host with Salisbury?
Well,
Say again?
Could we be co-hosts with Salisbury? Can we drag them into it?
I think that would be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been looking for others to try to take a role with these
Yeah.
summits. This might be a little breakthrough there.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than always Doylestown Township being the host body. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think spreading it around might engage more EACs. I don't know.
I don't know. Warminster hosted a summit.
That was good, yeah.
They had done that maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So there are others who are
Maybe 2
doing it.
years ago we went, yeah,
Yeah, remember we went to that one.
yeah.
So let's see where the deer idea goes. But as Heidi just said, you know, the summit planning process, it's already April, and so you know, we look at this, you know, we'd have to change our planning dates, you know, our months. What if we start in May and move toward September or maybe October summit?
Yeah, and just make this June, July, August or something. Just change the month.
Yeah, just change the months.
Yeah.
So this year, the timing would just be different. That's all. So, all right. So let's discuss this more in June, and that could be our first face-to-face meeting too, which is cool. Okay. So we've gone through the agenda, and it's only 8:23. Does anybody have anything to add?
Yeah, one thing, with regard to Ready for 100, we,
Did I skip that on here?
I don't see it on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
Oh, how did that happen? I'm sorry, Jim.
It's
I'm
okay.
glad you brought it
No
up.
worries. Just a very brief update. And that is that, you know, I think you all know that the county has actually passed its own resolution, and they are trying to now take the next step. And I know that Evan Stone, who's the on the planning commission, there were like chairs the planning commission.
He's the executive director.
Yeah, thank you. He reached out to Jim Wiley, who is of course the regional organizer, Ready for 100, rather than to the group of volunteers working in Bucks County. And Jim forwarded that on to us. So Maggie Rash, who is a supervisor in Buckingham, knows Evan quite well, and she's going to arrange a meeting between Evan and the group of volunteers, the Bucks County Ready for 100, so that we can start to coordinate our activities a little bit. And so it feels like we're closing the loop here because the county is doing something, and then we've got a group of volunteers doing something, and somehow we haven't connected. And I think it's time that we do connect. So hopefully we will meet with him at our next planning meeting, which would be at the end of April, and then perhaps he'll become a member of our group, and we'll somehow be able to coordinate our activities. So it's, you know, I think this is an important next step in the evolution of this group, that the community start to work with the county rather than sort of at cross purposes.
That's fantastic. Great news.
That is great news. Yeah, that's so important. It needs to be the region, not just, you know, not just a small group.
Oh, and by the way,
yeah.
one other thing, the Bacado group, you know, Bacado, which is Bucks County Association of Township Officials, they're going to be doing an education series now by Zoom. Maggie Rash and Jim Miller are organizing something. It's on the, I need to send this out to you, but it's noon on the 22nd of April.
Yeah.
And that'll be part of that 1 hour session will be on Ready for 100. And that's open to the public. That's open to township officials, but it's open to everybody. That may be something that people want to tune into. I'll try to find the link for us. I said I would prepare a short segment for them as well, to let them know what Ready for 100 is and what's happening in the world of electric cars and electric vehicles.
Jim, can we advertise that on our Facebook? I mean, Aaron, could that be included on our Facebook page so that more residents would be aware that was happening?
I guess so. It is advertised somewhere. Maybe I can find out from Maggie where the link is, and then yes, we can share it. Sure, I'll try to do that.
And you'll share it with all of us as well?
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. And that's April 22nd. That's coming up. That's next.
Yeah.
Noon, yeah, at noon.
Yeah. Okay. It'll be that would be informative. That'd be worth watching. Good. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Last call.
Janine, I have a quick question actually for Aaron.
Mhm.
You know, I had interacted with Ray and sent him the spreadsheet that I'd put together and sent him some questions about the work that he was doing. I haven't heard anything back. Is that still progressing?
Yes, Kurt, that is still progressing. We are waiting on some folks to get back to us with information.
Is that about the energy audit?
It's not about an energy audit. We are actually sent out to bid renewable energy for the township.
Wow.
Oh, that's
So
great.
this is just an information
Great.
finding session. Yeah, currently, we're hoping to see what that kind of looks like from a financial standpoint. And our goal is to use the information that a couple of brokers are going to give us and be able to help model it, and so that an informed decision can be made. And this will eventually be probably given as a presentation in one of the budget work sessions going forward.
Great.
Excellent. Kurt,
That's good
Kurt,
news.
are you involved in that? Are you
Well, I
involved?
had put together the spreadsheet and Ray and I were kind of working in parallel. And then I sent him my spreadsheet with some analysis on it and some questions. I'm fully on board with the idea of buying renewable energy, but I also don't want to foreclose the idea that we do other measures as well, because they may actually be more beneficial. So I don't want us to get down, just one path, and that's just enter into a contract, because that may
Right,
not
right,
be the optimal answer.
Right. Exactly.
Kurt, I believe the data is going to show that to be true as well.
Okay.
So is this something that I should be putting on EAC agendas?
Not at this point. I don't believe we
Okay.
have enough information to be
Okay.
at a point where we feel comfortable sharing it yet.
Okay, so you guys are gonna let me know.
Yep.
Okay,
That's great. I'm so happy to hear that, though.
yes, things are moving.
Awesome.
Yeah.
On that kind of note, if you didn't watch the last meeting of the Board of Supervisors, they did approve the installation of EV chargers at the last meeting.
Excellent.
How many and where?
So it's going to be in the public parking lot near the Township Administration Building. And it's going to be between 2 and 4 chargers. These will be level 2 chargers. They will be the more general and widespread standard. They're not going to be Tesla plugs, so that people can use them from all sorts of vehicles.
Oh,
Excellent.
That's
Great.
good news.
that's
Very good.
wonderful.
Yeah, well, it's like this, we've been talking about these things for what, a year, 2 years, 3
At
years?
least, yeah.
Yeah,
Three
Who
years.
who knew that they were listening?
Well, it's good to know.
How
Oh,
does
that's
that
good.
actually work? Who's selling the energy? Is it going to be free energy, free charge, or is some commercial
So
enterprise?
these chargers are going to be part of the ChargePoint network. They're going to be doing the administration side of it. The township reserves the right to set pricing. And initially, for the first year or so, Stephanie and myself have come to the conclusion, and the board has agreed, that we will allow that charging to be free as we study their usage and we get to understand it. Since these will be administered by ChargePoint, we'll be able to get a direct reading on just these chargers to see exactly what their usage pattern is and how much energy they actually do use.
Great.
So Jim and Heidi and I know where to hang out now.
Exactly. Exactly.
I gotta jump on that.
It's like, yeah, it's like,
How are you going to drive when you've shrunk down so small? I see you're smaller than a tulip now.
I know.
That's a very dramatic backdrop. Kurt.
It
Yeah, I
is.
love that.
It's great. Okay.
Aaron, thank you for the initiative of doing this and moving this forward for our township.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
We really appreciate
yeah.
your
Thank you.
leadership on this. It's super important. We're delighted.
Things are
great.
happening. Great. Good job, everyone.
Yeah,
Last
good
call,
question.
last
Is there a
call for
reason-
info.
Hopefully
Yeah,
what I
is there a
think
reason
is
why
the last
there was
thing.
no Tesla?
I'm sorry.
Is there a reason why there was no Tesla input on that charger station?
Infrastructure costs.
well, let me say that, Tesla is proprietary, and I think it's for the general public use, you're better off with what they call a public charging, kind of a standard format. And more people can use it, to be honest.
That's exactly right. And there is an adapter that can be used for Teslas to adapt
Yeah.
this kind of
Oh,
level 2 charger to a Tesla plug. So if
Oh,
you do have a
okay.
Tesla, you'll have to buy that adapter. But in general, it allows for a much wider breadth of cars, because so far everyone else but Tesla is using a general standard.
Right. And the
But
Tesla
meanwhile,
comes with the adapter.
Meanwhile, the majority of all electric cars are out there right now are Teslas, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's probably true. You know, the new Wawa has 8 Tesla chargers in the back.
Oh, wow, that's
Really?
great.
No way.
That's
Didn't know that.
exciting.
Yeah, Tesla has a partnership with Wawa. They have a total of 22 stations with at least 8 chargers apiece.
Wow, that's
So if you didn't know that, they've been doing that since, I believe, 2017.
wow, that's
Well,
awesome.
there's and Sheets
But-
does it out in central Pennsylvania.
You'll be able to hang out at Wawa for an hour while you get your charge.
Yeah, that's right.
Who knows what you do there for an hour, but
They have great donuts.
Eat a sandwich, I don't know.
Walking to town.
Yes, they better put picnic tables back there. Yes, something. Well, thanks. Things are moving along. Everybody's doing something. Everybody's adding to our environmental awareness or work or a project or something. Thanks, everybody. Last call for questions or comments.
Last thing, be emailing. Yeah, I have to email this out to this group and also to Stephanie and some of our other folks. The Pennsylvania DEP announced towards the end of last month their $1.8 million for green energy loan funds specifically targeted at businesses, school districts, hospitals, and local governments. So that
Okay,
might
good.
help with some of our upcoming building projects, depending on what they end up looking like.
Okay,
Well,
very
that's
good.
interesting.
Awesome.
Good.
Good
All
to
right.
know.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, last call. I will, the second last call. Okay, how about a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay, and everybody in favor? It's only 8:33.
Good job.
Let's get out of here. Okay,
All
thanks,
right.
everybody. All right.
Good.
Bye.
Take care,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
good night.
Good night.